We are in an unsettled weather pattern. Red flags are flying. There is a warning, a red flag warning until 9 p.m. this evening. We've got scattered showers and a few isolated thunderstorms across Central Oregon. Hey everyone, I'm Darrell Winninger, the Chief Meteorologist at Central Oregon Daily News, and we're about to take a deep dive into your most reliable forecast talk about this red flag warning, the smoke that's still in the air, and what's led to the shift in our weather pattern, when it finally wraps up and when we get out of this unsettled pattern. All that is what you can expect here through the next several minutes, so let's get right into it. Here is your satellite and radar. I also threw a layer on there that has the weather alerts, and you can see that red flag warning until 9 p.m. on Thursday. Now, we do have red flag conditions all the way through Friday and even Saturday, but there are not any weather alerts issued for that. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if something was issued, at least for Friday, if not Saturday as well. There is a pair of thunderstorms that is west of the 97 corridor and on the east slopes of the Cascades. One of the thunderstorms is just over and to the west of Deschutes River Woods, and then work your way south and southwest, just west of Sun River, just west of Three Rivers, and another one that's just west of Lapine. Now, all in told, we've already have more than 50 lightning strikes in and around Central Oregon. We have a little bit more development right around Crescent. Meanwhile, getting over towards Christmas Valley, there have been some light showers. You're probably feeling some sprinkles, not quite everybody getting wet. And looking more at the rest of Central Oregon, there was another cell that was just to the north of Paulina, and it's moved into Wheeler and Grant County, and it's already starting to fizzle out. We're going to come back to satellite and radar. I just wanted to give you a quick tour of what's happening. Thing number one, there are thunderstorms. Thing number two, we're critically dry. And thing number three, none of these storms are expected to become severe, but we're going to track each and every one of them with you and for you through the rest of the Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, the rest of this weekend, each afternoon. And when we look outside, we can see some darkened sky out from the top of Outback at Bachelor, overlooking Tumalo Mountain Bend on the other side of that. We can see the dark sky there, and that's because of the thunderstorm that's just to the south and southeast of Bachelor. Elsewhere across Central Oregon, we have some dark sky. We can see some showers off in the distance. We do not see any lightning flashes, but what we do see is more smoke, that smoke from nearby fires. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit too. Getting back over to satellite and radar, this specific graphic does not have the warning on it. We'll come back to that. But I just wanted to point it out. It's a different way to look at satellite and radar, and this one isn't as sensitive, but it still shows some light showers stretch from right around Powell Butte and just south of Prineville, all the way down over to just south of Redmond, down the 97 corridor and into the greater Lapine area. Now, that thunderstorm that's just to the west of Lapine, over the Cascade High Lakes, that one is already starting to fizzle out, and we still have the one between Sun River and Bachelor that's also producing some frequent lightning strikes. Right around Sisters, there's a little blip on the radar, nothing to be worried about there, and just north of Paulina, there was another cell that has already fizzled out. So this specific view of radar is not as sensitive as the other one, but it still shows where we have those thunderstorms. It still shows that we're not out of the woods just yet, and we still have that red flag warning. This is why the National Weather Service issued a red flag warning for today. Now, again, I would not be surprised if they extended this for Friday and maybe even Saturday. Saturday is a coin flip, and I'll show you what I mean here through the next couple of minutes, but ultimately we do have this risk of thunderstorms, and this is a blended map right here. It shows Thursday and it shows Friday. What it doesn't show is that there is a marginal risk of severe weather for Nevada here through the next couple of days as well. But for the most part, across Central Oregon, it's just showing that we have that chance of some thunderstorms. More specifically, there is a risk of dry thunderstorm activity. This is today. This is Thursday. And dry thunderstorms, you might be thinking, but Darrell, all thunderstorms have rain. That is true. And we see rain on radar, but sometimes you just feel a few sprinkles. Sometimes it shows up on radar. It shows up on your app, but you can't feel the rain at the surface. And that's because what we refer to as a virga. And virga is a phenomena where you have super dry air across the region, and rain starts to fall, but it's falling at terminal velocity and it evaporates before it reaches the surface. That's Virga. That's the reason why we're looking at the potential of some dry thunderstorms here through the next couple of days. It rains, should reach the ground, doesn't reach the ground, and we have lightning strikes with those thunderstorms. Now, typically, in a normal setup, rain it helps mitigate any fire activity when lightning strikes because you're immediately trying to suffocate that fire with water. But when you have a dry thunderstorm setup, that's when you could actually get some of those starts that spread rapidly because of outflow gusts as well. And so we have this setup for dry thunderstorms today. We repeat this setup for dry thunderstorms tomorrow, and that's all of Central Oregon in that hashed out area there. So here's how this plays out. Through the next couple of hours where we have some of these thunderstorms, and already we're not starting off on point with the forecast model isn't initiating properly. At this time, this cell that's over the Newberry Caldera is just on the other side of La Pine. But that being said, it does show that this wraps up pretty quickly, and thunderstorms remain isolated through the rest of the evening. Fast forward to Friday, by the afternoon, more thunderstorms starting over the higher elevations, coming down into the 97 quarter. That pattern repeats, but not everybody gets wet. And then by Saturday, we're looking at a lower chance of rain. The potential for thunderstorms is still there. So here through today and the 48 hours following that. So today, Friday, and Saturday, any showers that develop, I'm going to be tracking with you for the potential of thunderstorm development. And then by the time we get to Saturday night, we start to clear out. So let's look at a few more cameras. These are the Oregon Hazard Labs cameras, and these ones are fire detection cameras. So they're constantly in patrol mode. They're constantly scanning. In fact, on their website, you can actually see the full panoramic 360-degree view. We just don't get that here in the Weather Center. But what we do get is when they pick the view that they want us to see. And right now, we can actually see a pretty good scape of Central Oregon. From Hinkle Butte looking out towards Black Butte, we do see that there is a mixture of sunshine, clouds, and smoke. At Powell Butte camera, that's looking towards Prineville, there's just smoke. The Hampton Butte camera, smoke in the distance, whole lot of cloud cover. And in the Bend camera, that's at the top of the ODOT tower, we actually have some of those thunderstorms off in the distance. You can see the dark clouds. You can also see the rain shafts coming from the bottom of the clouds. Now, when this is looking at the bench fire, or I should say Roe Creek Complex. It was the bench fire, but this is two different cameras, the Powell Butte and the Grizzly Mountain camera, both of them low visibility because of that smoke. Meanwhile, when we look at air quality today, or right now, that hourly average is moderate across Central Oregon. When we focus on the mixture of a couple of networks, we do have that moderate air quality, but when we get a little closer, right around Madras and Sisters, there are a couple of real-time sensors that are showing unhealthy for sensitive groups. Overall, that's not bad. And it's green or good air quality between La Pine and Crescent. That's because of those thunderstorms helping to clear the air. But when we look at a different network, it paints a little bit different of a picture. This is the Purple Air network, and the thing with Purple Air you have to remember is these are really sensitive. Also, it doesn't just stick to the color, kind of gradients back and forth, and so sometimes you get false readings. Sometimes it looks red when it's really should be in that unhealthy for sensitive groups range, or vice versa. But when we take it all in, we notice that we have moderate to unhealthy for sensitive groups when it comes to that air quality. Until you get down to La Pine, that's good to moderate air quality, and there are a couple of sensors that are showing unhealthy conditions for parts of Central Oregon. Not as bad as it has been, but still not good. Not as good as it was yesterday, at least. Well, some of us today started off with poor air quality too. In fact, before we go into this forecast model, I want to show you one more thing. This is a time lapse of the actual air quality network. This is the airnow.gov air quality, so it's the hourly average. There we go, just found it. And so when we go into it, when we started at 7 a.m., we had the hourly average was unhealthy for sensitive groups, and there were times of unhealthy air quality. You can see in that loop right there. It just hasn't changed much through today, and that's because of this smoke from the Grasshopper and Austin fires, as well as one further off to our south. Those continue to be the Austin fire and the Grasshopper fire continue to be our primary smoke makers, as well as the Roe Creek Complex. That's what this is right here. This is the fire that has just kept Prineville socked in with smoke through the last couple of weeks. Now tonight that spreads out a little bit more, especially as showers wrap up. Times of poor air quality are expected, and then by tomorrow, better chance of rain, lower risk of smoke, and higher, or I should say, elevated risk of fire danger, because of the potential for lightning. So we're still in this air quality alert issued by the DEQ. It says until further notice, but they reevaluate it every day. That's why Deschutes County isn't in it anymore. If you remember, just earlier this week, the entire state, everything west of the PCT was showing this air quality alert, but it's not as bad today. Now, when we look at the bigger picture, this enhanced infrared satellite imagery and pressure, the pressure is those white lines, those isobars across the map, and when they get really tight next to each other, that means stronger winds. But there is a plume of moisture that's coming out of the southwestern U.S. into the Pacific Northwest. This monsoonal flow is what is credited with bringing us our risk of thunderstorm activity here through the afternoon and evening hours. But when we dive in and take a closer look, what we see is there have been a handful of thunderstorms over central Oregon and further to the north over the Cascades of Washington and the east slopes of the Cascades of Washington. By tomorrow, this low works its way further into the Pacific Northwest, continuing to impact us. But still, there's a broad ridge of high pressure out over the Pacific Ocean. So here through this evening, we go from warm to pleasant to 50s with a few 40s overnight. We still have that risk of lightning. By tomorrow, we are back in the 80s with some PM storms. So this is actually keeping our UV intensity forecast down in that high range instead of very high. I could even go moderate through the next couple of days, especially for pockets that are getting some of the shower or thunderstorm activity. But between now and Sunday at 11 p.m. all the way through our weekend, there are some spots that still don't even get wet. We have more smoke in the forecast. PM thunderstorms this evening, Friday afternoon and evening, and then Saturday afternoon and evening. After that, we back to more sunshine than cloud cover. So Sunday starts the clearing. It's also the peak of our warming trend. Then we come back down to below average for this, near and below average for this time of the year. So overall temperatures nowhere near average or above average at this time, and it kind of stays that way. We just get close to that seasonable norm through the day Sunday, really Saturday and Sunday. But your forecast model, this is what I typically show on air every night. It actually shows that showers and thunderstorms wrap up this evening. By tomorrow, we get a repeat of what we had today. Some of that convection a little further into central Oregon, not just stay in the highest elevations. And then by Saturday, we get back to the highest elevations. And by Sunday, a mixture of sunshine and clouds. It's going to be awesome. We start to cool back down early next week. But between now and Wednesday at 5 p.m., a lot of us get wet. Some of us don't quite see this thunderstorm or shower activity in a few spots, several spots, even just catch some sprinkles. But as of right now, gusts, not too bad. 10 to 20 miles per hour actual winds, 5 to 15 miles per hour. And through the rest of this evening, it does get a little breezy at times, but that's about it. That same pattern repeats Friday and Saturday. Here's the kicker with this. In areas of thunderstorm activity, where thunderstorms develop, let me say it one more way. If there's a thunderstorm nearby, winds are going to get gusty, and we call that an outflow boundary. And sometimes these even show up on radar. But an outflow boundary is the almost like a little mini cold front associated with a thunderstorm, because that cooler air goes down to the surface and it spreads out. Now, right along the edge of where that wind is spreading out, that's the outflow boundary. And in these areas, it gets pretty gusty. It can get strong winds, even straight line winds. That's not what we're expecting with this, but those outflow boundaries are going to bring gusty conditions at times. Meanwhile, Friday, we're talking 80s with a few 90s, more thunderstorms. This pattern continues through Saturday. By Sunday and Monday, our temperatures are peaking. We're talking 80s with a few 90s. Then they come right back down into the lower to mid 80s. Some ups and downs in temperatures are expected through the rest of the 7-day planner, but the best chance of rain is this best chance of thunderstorm activity is when we have the red flag conditions this afternoon and evening, Friday and Saturday PM. So a quick look at your weather headlines for this Thursday, August 13th. Some PM storms, check. Warming days ahead. Dry fuels continue, and we have the red flag conditions. One more time, a quick look at that satellite and radar and the closest thunderstorm activity just to the west of Bend, just to the west of Deschutes River Woods and Sun River, just to the west of Three Rivers and Lapine. So on the east slopes of the Cascades, we are continuing to track these and those fire detection cameras to see if there are any starts. That's the latest in weather for now. We'll have more of your most reliable forecast tonight on Central Oregon Daily News. See you then.